Hi friends! So with Thanksgiving right around the corner, we're thinking about our holiday desserts, and today I'm making a pecan pie, but not any old pecan pie. I am making a double chocolate espresso bourbon pecan pie. So let's see if I end up with that title. I don't know, I need to shorten it, but I haven't figured out what I want to do. But my flavor this year, my theme flavor is bourbon, so I've been trying to incorporate it in a few different recipes. So let's go ahead and make this pie. Let's get cooking. So I have a pre-made pie crust. You can see the nice butter flakes in there. That means nice crispiness. Now, that's the wonderful thing about when you're making pie. You can pre-make your pie crust, and they keep like 3 to 6 months in your freezer. I made this over the summer. I made a few pie crusts, and I'm going to go ahead and roll this out. Now, you might want to take it out of the fridge. I've only took it out 10 minutes ago, maybe 15, so it's going to take me a while to roll this out. I'm going to be putting this in more of a deep dish ceramic pie plate, and we'll go from there. But yeah, the nice thing, like I said, about pies is you can pre-make your pie crust. That's one less thing you have to do to in your busyness of the holiday. If you're hosting the holiday, or even if you've been asked to make the dessert, you can pre-make some of the things ahead of time, so it's not so rushed and hectic for you. So, and a pie crust is a nice way to have things run smoothly for you. So we're going to roll this out, and that'll take a little while. I have a nicely floured piece of parchment paper. I do have a silicone mat that has different diameters of pie plates. But if I'm doing a lot in the day, I'll use just a parchment paper because I can just throw that away. Where the silicone mat, I do have to wash it. And I'm already going to have a lot of dishes. So, simplify. Now we're getting this close to where we want it, and I have refloured my parchment paper a couple times in this process because you don't want it to stick. And whether you're using parchment paper or a silicone mat or just on your counter, you might have to reflour your surface so your pie crust doesn't stick. And I'm going to get you a close-up of this pie crust. You can see the nice butter flakes in there, and that is going to be flavor and crispiness to your pie crust. Now, over the years, I really was kind of intimidated by pie crust. In my younger years of baking, I really avoided it because I just had so many flops on pie crust. But the last couple of years, I've been a little bit more patient with it, and I'm like, you know what? It tastes so much better. And for years, I used a lot of store-bought pre-made pie crusts. I doctor them up, and they're okay, but I noticed the last few years, I don't know if they've changed ingredients or it just doesn't seem to taste as good to me. So maybe it's just my taste, because I do make a lot of home-baked things, and there really is nothing like made from scratch. So here is a close-up of that pie crust. Can you see those nice little bits of butter in there? That's how you're wanting it to look. let's roll up that pie crust. And this is so simple. You just take the end of your pie crust, put that over your rolling pin, and kind of just gently roll it up. Get your pie plate, which I'm going to go get that right now. And I've got a big ceramic. Now this says pumpkin pie, has a pumpkin pie recipe right on there. Isn't that the cutest pie plate? So I'm going to use this big ceramic deep dish one because I made this pie before and I used, I think a 9.5, and I'm not sure what this one is. Gonna lightly push down on here. You don't want to be heavy-handed. I'm gonna lift up the side so I can kind of get that pie crust to go down, because you don't want it to stick. Now, last pie I tested out with this, I did a blind bake. That's where you make your pie crust and then you pre-bake it and then you add your filling. And it was a really good pie crust, but I was like, you know what? I don't know. It slid down a little bit. I did put some pie weights. I used some dried beans, but it wasn't exactly how I wanted it. And I'm like, you know what? I think we don't necessarily have to. Oh, I want to leave a little excess. We don't necessarily have to pre-bake it. And I thought, we'll see if it'll help the pie crust from sinking down a little bit. Now this pie crust is really from that same batch, so I'm like, all right, did I just put too much butter in that pie crust? Maybe. If you're an avid pie crust baker, give me some tips, because I really want to master this. All right. Having a little bit of overhang so we have a nice ridge to hold in all our... I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fold that in, and then I'm just going to do a basic roll over my finger. Let me get a close-up of that. Here's a better shot you can get. And I'm just folding that over, going along, folding it up toward the center of the pie, and then I'm just putting that over my index finger. That makes it a nice little fluted. That's just one design you can do for you. And I'm finding I just really not having to fold that in too much, so. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll see what I do with leftover pie crust. So we don't throw out that leftover pie crust, because we can make ourselves a little treat. It's something my mom always did. She rolled that out and put a nice spread of butter on there and some cinnamon sugar. Bake that, yum. All right, so we're done with that part. So we've got that ready for our filing. We're going to file this pie and yummy dessert for Thanksgiving. And we're going to go ahead and put this in the fridge. Keep it chilled, because that is the secret to a nice crispy pie. Let's see if I got a way to let this stand. Yep. All right, we're going to clean up and get our filling put together. And we can pull that pie crust out. Now, one little tip that I did last time, because the last time I made a pie, I let that chill for quite a while. And I can't remember if I was like, oh, I was nervous about putting that really cold pie plate in my preheated oven. So this time I'm not going to let it sit in there as long. You can always, if you have your pie crust chilling a little bit longer than you plan, you can let it sit out to room temperature for probably 20 minutes or so, because it's still, it will still probably hold on to that coldness for a bit. So let's clean up and let's make our yummy pecan pie filling. While I have my pie crust chilling while I'm making the filling, I did preheat my oven. I have it to 375. And right now I'm greasing this because this cup, because I'm gonna put some honey in there and I want it to slide right out. So I'm just using a little coconut oil to grease that. So let's go ahead and start this filling. What I'm going to do is, I'm taking one stick. Actually, I don't think I need a whole stick. How much did I need? Butter. 6 ounces of room temperature. So now this is unsalted. If you have salt, if you don't have any unsalted and just have salted, you can use the salted. Just don't put any salt in your recipe, and you'll be fine with that. Because I've done that before and it works fine. This one is unsalted, so we'll add a little salt. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to lightly melt. I love my terms. I'm going to put this in the microwave at short increments, like maybe 10, 20 increments, seconds, and melt this because it's going to help in our recipe, and I'll tell you why. Let's get this in the microwave. I'm going to start out 20 seconds. So with this recipe, let me get my ingredients. We're going to use organic cacao powder, and we want that chocolate to bloom, and we're also using some expresso powder. And I'm going to put those ingredients into the melted butter. I think it helps bloom those flavors a little bit. We need to do it another 20 seconds. Well, let me show you what I use for a lot of baking, and I really recommend it. They're not paying me, but I love this. It's keto cacao powder, and this is organic, and this is vegan, but I buy it just because it's organic, and a lot of my recipes, I use this. It's so super chocolatey, so rich and decadent. I love it. So I really recommend that, and I want to recommend something, if you really have high expectations for a dish, it really delivers that nice chocolate. So I'm adjusting my recipe slightly than how I made it last time. Let's see, so last time I used 3 tablespoons. This time I used 2. I'm going to use 2. And let's see. I think I'm going to use the same amount as this espresso powder. I'm trying to see what I have here on my list. Did I not write it down? Oh, sure enough, I didn't write. Oh, no, I didn't write it down on here. I'm pretty sure I used 1 tablespoon last time. Wow, I can't believe I didn't write that down. Anyway, I got a tablespoon here. We'll do a tablespoon. Because we do have a lot of flavors, and I was like really concerned about all these flavors. I'm putting bourbon and coffee, chocolate. I'm like, then pecans. Is the pecans getting lost in it? But this is a little different variation, so it's not the same as your classic, um, uh, your classic pecan pie. You know, it has that ooey gooey filling. And the first one I made was a little bit more fudgier than I want, so that's why I'm trying this. We'll see. Because I do like that gooey gelatinous, but the other one was really good. So let's go ahead and take 2 tablespoons of the cacao powder, and we're going to take 1 tablespoon of expresso powder. Let's see how it looks like. Well, I can fit. I guess I can't fit that, so we'll use a teaspoon, and we'll use 3 of those. But that's kind of how it looks. 1, 2, 3. So a whole tablespoon. And we're going to let that hang out and do its thing while we're getting together the other ingredients. One thing I did ahead too, I did it last night, was I toasted my pecans for about 12 minutes in a 325 degree preheated oven. So I'm just basically just whisking that, giving a good whisk, making sure all the coffee and the cacao powder is dissolved. It smells good. All right. So let's, and something I'm doing too is, like a lot of people do this, some people chop their pecans, some people put them in whole. I really like the way it looks whole, but it's a little harder to bite into, I think, with the whole. But I am going to do a mixture. I'm trying that this time. Last time I did just the whole, very pretty, but I thought, you know, it wasn't as easy to bite into. So I toasted about 10 ounces of pecans, and we're not going to use all that, but let's take, you know what, let me get a different measuring bowl, or measuring cup, measuring bowl. I want a measuring cup, that might work. All right, so let's get like about a half a cup, maybe 3/4 of a cup. We'll chop those. Once you toast the pecans, they keep so for a few weeks. A lot of times will toast them ahead and put them in the fridge because I add them to my oatmeal or my ice cream, or even like if I have yogurt and pudding or something like that. It's nice, and just for snacking. Just a few pulses on our mini chopper. That's all we need. And then on the top of the pie, you'll see I'll put some whole ones to give it a pretty design, because we do eat with our eyes, and it's a pretty presentation when we I don't know if we needed a little bit more than that, but so when we chop it, yeah. Just set this over here. We'll wash that later. All right, so let's go ahead and we've got that going. Let's go ahead and put together our mixture. Let me get a bowl. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use the other pecans I'm going to use, because this is one trick that I see that some cooks do, is they'll put a little flour, and I've done it too. I'm going to do 2 cups. Well, you put a little flour in with your whatever bits you're doing, if you're doing chocolate morsels, or let's see. All right, so we'll add a tablespoon and a half, I think, of all-purpose flour. 1. There we go. About 1 1/2. And we can take our sugar. Oh, you know what? I was like deciding, yeah, I'm doing it a little different this time. So we'll take our chocolate and we'll mix that in there also. And I'm basically just coating those pecans. You know what? I want a little bit more. I knew I wasn't happy with that. Let's just do a little handful. That's a big pie dish, so they're nice and coated. We can go ahead and chop up our chocolate right now. Now with the chocolate, you determine what you like. If you like a semi-sweet or more of a bittersweet, you choose. But on this one, I'm going to use a 60% cacao bittersweet chocolate. I like it a little more on the bitter side. The last pie I made, I used 70%, and that was like, wow. But I did like it, but that's not for everybody. And let's see. Oh, this is a 4 ounce. I think on my recipe I had 6 ounce, but you know what? I used the 4 ounce last time, and that was plenty enough because we have this other chocolate. We have the cacao powder that we're putting in here, so this is definitely big enough. And I'm just going to give that, you could have whacked that on the counter, broken it up. That's what I meant to do. You're going to have your chunks as big as you want. You know, let's just put the, give myself some space here. I wish I cracked that in the package. Could have just took the whole package and went crack on the counter. That's what I meant to do. I said you can just use chocolate chips. I think the bittersweet, the semi-sweet, or the bittersweet would be a lot better instead of milk chocolate. Because this is a double chocolate pie. And this is really rich. You'd only need a small piece. One thing too, that when I brought this, I tested it out at my church folk. And when I had it out of the fridge, gosh, say over an hour, hour and 15 minutes. Well, let me backtrack. I did have it out of the fridge, but I think I tried to slice it maybe like 45 minutes after I had it in the fridge. And it still was hard to slice because it was so rich. Such a rich pie. After I had it out of the fridge for like a little over an hour and a half, it was much easier to slice without destroying the pie. So keep that in mind if you make this ahead, put it in the fridge. Make sure you take it out a good hour or so before you serve it. That's yummy. There's a big piece. Oh well, got lost in there. So I'm just tossing that with the pecans and the flour. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be happy with just having a tablespoon and a half. So like I said, I am testing out this recipe. This is my second time around with a little bit of variations. So I'm on to the sugars now. I really wanted to make a recipe with honey instead of corn syrup. And I see that plenty of people do that. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So last time I did use honey. This time I am using honey. But I got a fresh bottle. One I had, I think, was from early spring. And I don't know if that's what helped make my pie so much more dense than I wanted it, or if it was all the sugar I put in between. So I think last time, yeah, I definitely did 1 cup of dark brown sugar. I'm going to lower that amount. I'm going to increase the amount of honey. Like I said, I greased this, remember, so it can come out easily. And I just bought this honey, so we'll see if that makes a difference. Typically, this is made like with, this pie is made with granulated sugar, dark brown sugar, corn syrup. So here's a 1/4 cup, and I'm thinking I might have to do a 1/2 cup because I don't think that's going to be quite enough. I was thinking about it. I did this last night. I kind of got some of my stuff prepared, and I was like thinking about it this morning. I'm like, because remember, I had a whole cup last time, and we had 3/4 cup of honey, so I'll just pack that down. I think you get a nicer flavor with the dark brown, and you get a pretty color in your pie. All right, so we're using a 1/2 cup. I'll have to write that down so I don't forget. And then we're going to use a little molasses, and we're going to use a 1/4 cup. I'm going to put it right in the same container. There we go. I really like the flavor of the molasses, and it's not like overwhelming. I think it just helps brings a nice depth of flavor to all the other ingredients. We're definitely not overdoing it with that. Wash the hands, sticky with all that honey, sugar, and molasses. All right, so there's my sugars. Let's get that beat it up. Let's get that beat up. Let's whip that up. Let's get some of that brown sugar to dissolve. We are going to add a little salt to this. We are going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. Now let's use some of this. I'm not going to even measure it. There we go. And we're going to use a little bit of vanilla. Let's do that right now. We are going to use 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I definitely think vanilla helps your chocolate just pop with flavor. All right, let's go ahead and put our bourbon. Now this is a honey bourbon flavor. And most of your most famous cooks say use the best quality you can get. I don't necessarily think I have the best quality. But you know, it's the holidays and we're spending a lot of money on groceries, so I'm going to start with 2. I think last time I used 3, and you definitely can taste it, but it wasn't overpowering. And no worries because the alcohol cooks out. This is a big pie, so I think we're going to be okay with 3. I'm doing the 3. That's why I was like hesitant. I'm like, can I really call it double chocolate expresso bourbon? Because I only have 1 tablespoon espresso. I might drop that. Go ahead in the comments. Let me know what you would label this and call this. I'm leaning toward double chocolate bourbon pecan pie. But I'm open to suggestions. All right, so we got that. Give this a good mix because you want to get those sugars dissolved. All right, so I got the salt, got the honey. Now we're going to add our eggs, and then we'll add all our nuts. I'm kind of to do one at a time here. Here's number 2, room temperature eggs. Number 3, I have 4 out here. Last time I used 4, and on the little pie plate that I had a 9. I say little, 9.5 is not little, but still wasn't big enough. But I think I'm going to be okay because I'm using this deep dish pie. So I'm going to go in for number 4. Yeah, whip, 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 whip. It's already smelling like Thanksgiving. So let me know what your favorite Thanksgiving desserts are. All right, let's add in our chopped nuts. Oh, you know what? Let's add in our chocolate mixture, okay? That's been hanging out nicely. Let's put that in here. And we're calling it double chocolate because we have this, and then we're also putting in our chopped cacao bittersweet chocolate bar. Oh, there's gonna be plenty of chocolate in this. Okay, now we'll put our cup of chopped nuts. And let's put, oh, that's why I shouldn't mix these, because I needed to put them on the top pretty. So, but I want the chocolate in there. Didn't think that through. So, if you're just wanting to make a pretty design on the top, pull out some of those pecans. I forgot that. Because we have the chocolate in here too. And we want that all to be incorporated into the pie filling. But we want some pretty pecans on the top to decorate this pie with. I'm just putting them aside so I can have hopefully a nice little design on the top of the pie. All right, let's mix that in here. I'll just use a spoon and not the whisk. Just want to dissolve all that flour in there. All right. Let's see, do I have everything? Yes, I do. All right, let's put that book on the side. Pulling out that chilled pie crust. And our dish didn't get super cold. It is cold, but I might let it sit here for maybe 10 minutes. We're gonna pour this in here. Oh yeah, I'm glad I went with the 4 eggs. I could have went with 5. Because this is a big pie. But this is awesome. Now, if you go ahead and make this and use a lot smaller pie tin, you will have a problem. It will spill over or you'll have extra. So, let's go ahead, put some pecans on the top. I'm going to get a better shot for that. All right, let's put the pecans on the top for a little bit of prettiness. I just think this is nice in the presentation. Everybody totally knows what they're getting. Now, I used 1 tablespoon less of the cacao powder, and I definitely noticed this isn't as dark looking, but I think we're going to be good with the chocolate flavor because we had that whole bar of chocolate. Ooh, Didn't mean to do that. There you go. I took out plenty, so that was good. Oh, shoot. Go in for a deep dive. That one broke. All right, we have some big ones left. We'll put that in the middle. Yeah, I'm liking that. Fill in some little spots there because we are going to use all these pecans. There we go. Let's get a close-up of that, and we're going to get this in the oven in a moment. So that's how the little design turned out for that pie. I think it looks pretty. We're going to get this pie in the oven, 375 for about 50 minutes. Might take a little bit more. Let's cross our fingers. I think it's going to be good. I have this on the second to the bottom, from the bottom rack. Set our timer. I'm going to do that for about 3 more minutes. I don't think that hurt. I switched the pie around. The back end of the oven was hotter, so the crust was a little more brown. This one to take a little less of that jiggle out. It smells great. Okay, that timer went off. We put this in for 3 more minutes. I think this is going to be perfect. Look how high that raised up. Try to get a little close up. Now, have little cracks in that, and that's normal. Don't worry about that. But this looks pretty good. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. And it looks lovely. So let me get a close up. You have to let this completely cool. And it tastes better even the next day. Definitely want to let it cool a few hours before you cut into that. So plan ahead with this pie. It was a pleasure cooking with you today. Hey, don't forget to put in the comments what you would call this. Double chocolate espresso bourbon pie, double chocolate bourbon honey bourbon pecan pie. Throw out some ideas for me in the comments. And speaking of Thanksgiving, don't forget to get my free ebook for you. It is your go-to guide, everything Thanksgiving, from table decor, shopping list, planning list, menu planner. We talk about table decor. We talk about food storage, storing all those dishes in your fridge. I've got some great hacks on that. So you'll want to make sure you get that ebook. And then we have a whole chapter on turkey. What size turkey do I need to feed 12 people? How long do I need to let that turkey thaw out in my refrigerator? Never do it on the counter, okay? How long do I need to bake my 14 or 20-pound turkey? That's all in that ebook, 7 Steps to Hosting a Stress-Free Thanksgiving Dinner. Go ahead and hit the link it will be either in the descriptions or the comments, backtohomewithdoreen.com, and you can get that. Make sure you get it while it's up and running. So, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, we're going to continue on this month with some of our favorite Thanksgiving recipes. So keep watch, keep cooking, and almost happy Thanksgiving.